We've got an election next year. We hear that some of the politicians in the ANC, they're making all sorts of noises about changing the mandate of the Reserve Bank. And who's ever going to be our next president will, of course, appoint the new governor of the South African Reserve Bank the end of next year. But the Reserve Bank so far has really been doing an excellent, sterling job.
Hello and welcome to Smart Money, brought to you by Daily Investor, South Africa's largest online investment publication. Today we're chatting to Dawie Roodt, founder, director and chief economist at the Efficient Group, who has added to that yet another title, chairman of Efficient Private Clients as well. He's, of course, a renowned economist. In fact, he's ranked the most referenced economist in the country, specializing in monetary and fiscal policy, and unsurprisingly has extended his purview over local and international politics too. How could he not, right? They're all inextricably intertwined. So Dawie, thanks so much for joining us today. And like I say, our viewers know Dawie Roodt as one of South Africa's most prominent economists and commentators. What was it that led you to your current status?
Very nice talking to you. Thank you very much. So you ask me, why did I become an economist? I guess that's the question. And the answer to that is, I always tell people, is because it was the only subject I could pass. But in a way, that is the truth, because I didn't study economics at school, so this was very new to me. And when I started in BCom, when I started doing my BCom, one of the subjects was economics, and I wasn't really, didn't know much about the subject, what it really means, except that I already started being interested in politics and things like, for example, communism from school, from my school days. So when I started learning a little bit about economics, I think economics found me. I think that's a better answer. Economics found me, and I realized that economics is the most amazing subject, because economics is about people, and I'm very curious about why people do things. And that's what economics teach you. It gives you the tools to try to figure out why people do sometimes quite unusual things.
And what makes the world tick as well, Dawie? So I've got to ask you now, sitting within the Efficient Group, how has your most recent role as chairman of Efficient Private Clients shifted the contribution to you, that you make within the group, if at all?
Yeah. Well, Efficient Private Clients is a subsidiary of the Efficient Group. The Efficient Group is quite a large company. It's 20 years old now. We started this business 20 years ago. Heike was our CEO, myself, we started it. And then about 5-6 years ago, I realized that there was a specific demand for especially more well-off clients that need certain structures and, of course, need a little bit more personal touch, because it's a very personal thing. When you work with other people's money, it's a personal thing. And that's what we started doing the last couple of years. We established relationships with people that are quite good in establishing proper structures. And I'm talking about international structures and local structures and so on. And of course, we've got a crack asset management team managing the assets for our clients. There are a few risks. When you talk to clients, there are a couple of risks for clients. The single biggest risk for a client is who to choose to do business with. Remember, this is your money, this is your retirement money, this is your nest egg. And the biggest risk is, who can I trust? Who should I do business with? That's your single biggest risk. But there are many other risks, as we know. Another important risk, and quite often people don't spend enough time on that, is your structures. You need to have the right structures. And of course, you have to have the right products, and you have to invest in the right sort of stuff, and risk profile and that sort of stuff. But structures, people quite often forget to pay the necessary attention to.
And of course, to get all of that right, you've got to have a proper understanding of context of operation as well. Danny, context is a very big influencer in that regard. And, your voice is, of course, loud in the South African discourse around economics. So what are you seeing as the single biggest challenge facing the South African economy right now, and why?
Yeah, the subject called economics used to be called political economy, and you refer to politics. It's the same thing in a way. And we've got an election around the corner. I think things are going to change. We are at the beginning of significant political changes in South Africa. Of course, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a process. It's going to take us a couple of years to get to wherever we're going. I'm not exactly sure where we're going to end up. But then we've got a new government next year. It will still be, I believe, ANC dominated. But there are three major challenges for this new government. And the three challenges are the local authorities. The local authorities are mostly a mess. the state-owned enterprises, and they've mostly been run into the ground financially and operationally, and of course the national government. And there are many things here: education, police, health services, and of course the finances of the national government is in a real big trouble. So those are the three major challenges. So that's what's keeping me up at the moment. Who's going to be our next government, and how are they going to address those three major challenges?
Dawie, are there any easy fixes here? And I guess what I'm asking as well is, if you were put in control of South Africa's economic policy making, what would be your first call to action? Because politics, like you say, has, gotten in the way of creating a competitive macroeconomic environment.
You will probably be surprised in what my answer is going to be. The thing is, we know what the answers are. We know things like protection of private property rights and sound money and free trade, all that sort of stuff. We all know that. Where there's one major challenge in South Africa, one major deficit in South Africa, and that deficit is that we simply do not trust government. Confidence in this government, confidence in the economy, confidence in the police, all of that are at rock bottom at the moment. It is not, people do not want to be here. People do not want to do business here. So somehow we have to get confidence back firstly. And to get confidence back means that you have to find something and do something successful so that you can say, listen, I've done this thing and it worked. Look here, here's the results. And there are two things that I would do. Simple things. The first one is I will fix the traffic. Everybody will support you. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. Yeah, you will have a lot of publicity. See what happened in Cape Town. Fix the traffic and make sure everybody sticks to within the traffic rules. That's it. And everybody will support you. The second thing is clean the place up. It's a mess. Clean the place up. Do what they're doing in Rwanda. Every Saturday afternoon or whatever the president says, let's go out and go and pick up the litter and clean the place up. And you go out, and if you're successful at those two, and you can be successful, those are small little victories that you can point out and say, listen, we did this and it worked. Now we're going to give for something bigger.
And, like you say, sometimes it's just going for those low-hanging fruit that would make all the difference. Of course, Dawie, we get used to, the doom and gloom narrative around the economy. It's very well known. Are you seeing any bright spots that we should be recognizing and perhaps even be celebrating?
Yes, I think a couple of ones, but I'm getting a little bit concerned about one or two of those. One is the South African Reserve Bank. Lesetja Kganyago is doing an excellent job under very difficult circumstances. And again, we've got an election next year. We hear that some of the politicians in the ANC, they're making all sorts of noises about changing the mandate of the Reserve Bank. And who's ever going to be our next president will, of course, appoint the new governor of the South African Reserve Bank the end of next year. But the Reserve Bank so far has really been doing an excellent, sterling job. I'm a little bit concerned about the most recent Pala report. I think the Reserve Bank slipped there. But that was the first major slip. But apart from that, that is without a doubt, that's a silver lining. A second silver lining is the judiciary, especially under the leadership of Raymond Zondo. He's an excellent choice as a Chief Justice. Unfortunately, he's probably not going to be around that much longer. And then the third bright, really, and that's where you guys are actually coming in, and that's the press in a way. The press in South Africa is really, that's the best in the world. There are so many other things as well. Our financial markets are very liquid, very well regulated. The banks are healthy and that sort of stuff. But it's the things that really matter are the institutions, what I've mentioned, the Reserve Bank, the independence of the judiciary, the press. Those are the three major important institutions that are still doing an excellent job in the country.
Yeah, we've gotten a very broad-based sense, Dawie, of where you see things at in the country right now. Do you have any exciting projects lined up?
Well, for us at the Efficient Group, of course, there's always an exciting project lining up. But we've just concluded a massive, big transaction that is really, it's a game changer for us. And of course, we are thinking of doing some new stuff as well going forward. But there are three industries that I would like to get involved in as an asset manager. And the three industries that I really like is agriculture. Agriculture is changing dramatically. Agriculture is being corporatized and a financial, and it's getting a bit, really, it's not a dirty industry anymore. It's a service industry to a large extent. There are so many investment opportunities. Another industry that I really like is let's call it personalized medicine, which includes genetic profiling and medicine and these wearables that can measure your heartbeat and your oxygen and your sugar levels. And there are so many investment opportunities there as well. So let's call it very broad field, genetics, personalized medicine, whatever. A third one that I really like is education. Education with technology, technological changes, Things are changing dramatically in education. And again, there are so many investment opportunities. And the last one is on finance. I think finance is changing. We are soon going to see central bank digital currencies. The nature of banking is going to change. In future, banks are not going to look the same as what they look today. They're going to provide other kinds of services. And banks that want to survive this major change that is happening already, they really will have to adapt to new technologies and everything that goes with that. So those are the three major industries that I'm very, very excited about. Of course, you can't really categorize them of different industries because to a large extent, there's so much overlap between these various industries. And it's overlapped by things like, for example, artificial intelligence. But those four industries are the industries that I'm really, really keen on.
Absolutely. And that is it, right? We're living in this digital era right now, and that creating a whole host of new investment opportunities, as you say. I've got to ask, though, Dawie, because I've done some deep digging here. How does ichthyology fit into all of this?
Well, we all have something that some weak points somewhere. Some guys like fancy cars, other guys like, do other things. No, my real weak point is about fish. Ichthos is Greek for fish, and I've collected some species that haven't been described yet, but especially freshwater fish. I've got a massive fish tank here that I can turn around and show you if you want to see. So I've got a really big fish tank here. There it is.
Got it.
Yeah. So so that's my hobby. Ichthyology. I'm a bit of fish nut. I really like fish, and I like rivers, and I like lakes, and whenever I get the opportunity, somewhere in a lake or the river, trying to find a new species of fish.
And yet you still say that you're an amateur ichthyologist, right? You seem to be a more ardent athlete of sorts, marathon runner, Ironman competitor. Is that what keeps the economist busy in his off time?
Yeah, well, yeah, more so. I'm doing more cycling nowadays, yes, but I've done a couple of those things, and I've got the motto in life. I can remember the first time I presented the TV program, and I learned something very important there. I never thought I will be able to present a TV program or a radio program, and I did that, and I found out something, and I found out that I can actually I can do things that I never thought I will be able to do. And from then on, I tried doing stupid things like running marathons and doing Ironman and many other things. And every time I was so surprised that I could actually complete these events. I'm not a good athlete. I'm simply doing it to see if I can do it. And
Absolutely,
and
it's all about the challenge, Dawie. I mean,
yeah,
you
exactly.
say
That's my advice to young people, especially. Try stuff that you don't think you will be able to do, and you will be amazed at what you can achieve.
Exactly. It's all about the challenge at the end of the day. Dawie, it's always a pleasure chatting to you. Thanks so much for your time. Dawie Roodt, of course, is chief economist at the Efficient Group.